Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Essential Supply Catalog Update 2023. We're not going to look just at items though, we're going to look at weapon traits. These are new traits that were introduced here in the weaponry section. And reading over them, there's some pretty good ones. Now the weaponry traits from the core rulebook, basically if you have a weapon listing, it will list a trait if it has it, and then you have to reference back to what the trait is. So new weapon traits. Some of the weapons described in these sections have additional weapon traits not described in the core rulebook. Artillery. Artillery weapons shoot projectiles along a ballistic trajectory, allowing them to lob shots at targets out of sight. When firing at a target that can be seen, artillery weapons follow the usual rules for ranged attacks. When attempting indirect fire at a target that cannot be physically seen, the attack suffers a die modifier -2 penalty. In addition, if the precise location of the targets is not known, enemies behind a wall or if ducked down in a trench, for example, the attack will land 1 die meters in a random direction away from them for every 100 meters the target is away from the attacker, minus the effect of the attack roll. A negative effect will, of course, add this distance instead. It is worth remembering that knowing where targets may be does not mean they need to be seen. The use of sensors, as described page 160 of the Traveler Core Rulebook, provide a good indication where enemies are lurking, and as can forward observers. So artillery you can use as an indirect fire weapon. If you have a forward observer out there, it still would count, at my table at least, as direct fire because they're telling you precisely where to go. They're giving you coordinates. So I wouldn't give the +2 penalty in that case. If I had good sensors with good location, live time information, or if I had a forward spotter who was doing the same function. Dangerous. This weapon can be lethal to its user as the intended target. If an attack roll is made by the weapon with an effect of -5 or worse, it explodes. Its damage is inflicted upon the person firing it, and the weapon is rendered inoperable. So if you have some type of, for instance, an old breech-loaded weapon, and you roll poorly in the attack, it blows up in your face. I think that's pretty neat. Fire. This weapon sets the target on fire, causing damage every round after the initial attack. The target can only be set on fire by one fire weapon at a time. Use the highest damage fire weapon. Left to its own devices, the fire will extinguish itself on 2-die roll of 8 or greater, rolled at the start of every round. However, the referee may rule it continues to burn so long as the flammable material is present. A traveler may use a significant action to extinguish the fire, requiring an average 8-up dex check. The traveler gains die modifier +2 if using firefighting equipment. That's pretty straightforward. So if you're having some kind of fire effect weapon, some kind of flamethrower, napalm, anything like that, napalm I would definitely let burn longer because that's what it's designed to do. But if it's a flamethrower, stop, drop, and roll. Maybe with some assistance you can put yourself out before you're completely gone, but that's going to be pretty lethal to your traveler. One use. This weapon is designed to be used just once, completely expending its energy or ammunition and then being rendered useless. One-use missile, one-use rocket launcher, anything like that. It's one use, it's one and done. Disposable rocket launcher, it fires once and then you get rid of it. Silent. Most projectile weapons require a noisy discharge of chemical, heat, or kinetic energy in order to attack, but this weapon channels or removes the excess sound energy also created. Any attempts to detect the source of the sound suffer die modifier -6. So you've got an effective silencer on the weapon. It can't be located after the gun is fired simply by listening for it. A die modifier -6, that's significant. Smasher. This is the one that actually drew me to do this video. This weapon is particularly heavy and carries a great deal of momentum when it is swung. A traveler attacked by a smasher weapon may not attempt to parry it. Right away I thought of the weapon the Witch King uses in the Two Towers against Theoden and Eowyn, his big old, basically cinder block on a chain. That would be a good example of a smasher weapon. Eowyn tries to parry it, and it smashes in her shield and breaks her arm. Very dangerous. Only a madman uses a weapon with this reputation. If an attack roll is made in effect -3 or worse, it explodes. Damage is inflicted upon the person firing it, and the weapon is rendered inoperable. So those are the new weapon traits out of the book. And now we got to look at a couple of the newer weapons that represented this. The one I wanted to look at was the gravity hammer. Gravity hammer is tech level 13, melee weapon, 5 die damage. It weighs 5 kilograms, so a little over 10 pounds. Costs 10,000 credits. It is AP 50 and is bulky and a smasher. So again, let's take a look at the gravity hammer. It's right there. And then we read the gravity hammer description, which is right here. The basic concept of the gravity hammer's use, smash stuff, hides a truly sophisticated weapon that has become known as the epitome of bludgeoning weaponry. Inside the super dense head of the hammer is a small gravitic generator that twists and multiplies the effective kinetic force the weapon creates when swung. The slight gyroscopic pull of the gravity hammer does make it difficult to control mid-swing, creating an additional amount of weight to compensate for. When using the gravity hammer against any target smaller than a vehicle, attack rolls suffer DM-6. So you're probably not going to get hit by this personally. If you are at AP 50 with 5 dice, you're probably going to go to your maker pretty quickly. But I can see this definitely as something to be used in construction or destruction if you're trying to break into some hideaway that your target is in, hidden behind some walls, or even in a starship. I would absolutely rule you could breach a starship hull with this weapon. It would take a few swings at my table, but it would absolutely get it done. So, as I said, I was reading through some stuff for my forthcoming game, and I didn't want to do a whole video on weaponry, but I liked the effects, and I really enjoyed the gravity hammer. That has a definite Warhammer 40k feel to it, which is also what attracted me to it. So I thought, hey, why not? So there you have it. There's plenty of other interesting weapons here. The anti-armor flail is one of them. Tech level 8, melee range, 4 dice damage, 3 kilograms, so a little over 6 pounds, 250 cost. It's AP 5 and it's 1 use. So, an anti-armor flail. This weapon is a short shaft on which is mounted a chain with an attached explosive warhead. When swung, the warhead detaches, adheres to the target with instant glue, and then detonates after a preset delay, between 1 and 12 rounds. That's pretty cool. That is going to do some serious damage to armor. If you're fighting somebody who's in a suit, maybe battle dress even, this guy is going to do a little something to it. 4 dice with AP 5 against battle dress, you might get a little bit through on that. This is going to be better if you're using it again against some kind of vehicle or some kind of bunker that somebody's in. It doesn't say how it attaches. It says it adheres to the target, so it is some kind of super glue. At tech level 8, you could have some pretty convincing super glue. It would set bond instantly. Also, I could see a magnetic version of this, which would be pretty interesting. So, but there you have it. Just a few weapons I was goofing around with, toying with using actually against some of my travelers. I don't know that I'm going to use those against my travelers, but it could be pretty interesting to have a weapon out there that, make them aware of it so they don't get so sassy. They have combat armor by this point in my game, and I like the idea that there are some weapons out there that can go ahead and breach the combat armor, no real problem. They won't like that, and that's kind of why I want to do it. I want to keep them on their toes. So that's all I've got today on page 121. Another nice sample out of the Essential Supply catalog. Let me know what you think. What other weapon effects you use at your table routinely. By the way, I do the weapon effects in Traveler as written. I really don't change anything. I try very hard in Mongoose 2nd as I get more and more familiar with the rules with this particular edition. I'm trying to play everything as much as I can as written. You do have to modify some stuff here and there just because it's not clearly called out, such as some of the recovery times, the various surgeries you can have. I would kind of like a rule of thumb on that, but maybe that's something out of for a future Traveler Companion, volume 2 or something. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Tell your friends, and take a look at the Patreon. Help me out there. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on page 121.